Hey contractors, in this video I'm going to show you what it takes to develop a 7-figure client acquisition system. Now in order to get to 7 figures or above, you need to have your marketing and sales dialed in. And to do that, we have to think about specific KPIs or measurement points. For me, there's 5 that I think are the most important. And in this video, I'm going to talk about what those 5 are, why some others don't matter, how to track these 5, and how to use them to get you to that 7-figure mark. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Micah McLean, and I'm the founder of Search, Click, Grow and Local Growth Academy. And I've been in lead gen and growth marketing for about 18 years. And I help local businesses and contractors like you scale their operations, create systems to get new clients on demand. So the first thing I want to cover is why. Why do we have KPIs in the first place? KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator. A KPI, simply put, is a number in your business somewhere that tells you whether that system or that process or that part of your business is performing the way it should. Key Performance Indicator. Now, often people think that KPIs mean every data point that you could possibly get your hands on, and that is not the case. If you dive into things like Google Analytics and Facebook ads and your CRM, you're gonna be overwhelmed with the amount of data points that are there. Those aren't KPIs, those are just data points, and they're important, but only at a later stage, and we'll talk about that in a minute. What we want to define are the fewest amount of numbers that tell you, the CEO, the owner of your business, whether or not this department, this thing, is running well. And today, this video is talking about marketing and sales. I'm going to call this client acquisition. Client acquisition isn't just marketing. It isn't just sales. It isn't just appointments. It's everything in between. It starts from the first thing your customer sees and ends with a signed contract. And there's multiple step points in between. And we want to monitor those transition points and make sure that we know that that whole system to get clients is working well. Without that, without bringing new clients into your business consistently, you're never gonna hit that high 6, 7, or 8-figure mark in your business, ever. You need sales, you need marketing, because you need clients on the other end, and that's what this is about. All right, with that being said, let's dive into these 5 KPIs, and for this, let's go to the whiteboard. So number 1, the first KPI I want you to measure is the money spent in marketing. So marketing dollars spent. And this is really important because the marketing dollars spent, a lot of people will get this wrong. A lot of people will look at your Facebook ad account and say, I spent $1,000 this month, and they put 1,000 here. They look at their Google LSA or their SEO or whatever, and they put those numbers down. You need to create a total cost for this channel. So if I was looking at something, let's just say like Facebook ads, my cost here, this question mark, this number is going to be the actual advertising spend, how much Facebook cost. Maybe I have an advertising agency that's doing it. There's a labor cost there. Maybe I'm doing it internally. There's at least my time cost. There's probably systems and tools that are involved in that too. Maybe you have like a social media dashboard to help you understand your data. Whatever it is, it's going to be the advertising cost, the labor cost, the systems cost, the tools cost, all of that wrapped up per channel, okay? So this is your number 1. Number 2, we're going to talk about the number of leads. Leads are a lifeblood in your business. You need the leads. So after we track the dollar amount of your marketing, we need to track the amount of leads that this is creating. And again, we're going to break this down per channel. I'll dive into that in just a little bit more. But we need to track the number of leads. Now, this tells us if this is working or not. And I'm going to get into these numbers in a minute and show you how, when you look at the KPIs, the key performance indicators, if something is off, you know where to dive in and look at extra data and try to find the problem. All right, moving on down. So we got marketing dollars spent is number 1. Number 2 is the number of leads generated. Number 3 is going to be number of appointments. Okay, so the number of appointments set. Different channels and different marketing, maybe one channel gets a lot of leads, but no one converts to appointments. That could be a problem, right? We need to know that, and that's going to be part of this equation. So marketing dollars and leads, and then appointments. Moving on down, number 4, number of closed deals. So this means deals, contracts, proposals, whatever you want to call them. This is the number of closes. This is your sales close, right? So if I go on 3 appointments this week and 2 of them close and 1 of them doesn't, I need to know that. Number of deals closed. Lastly, we're going to go into the total revenue. And I want to separate these two. Some people will track one or the other. They'll track just how many deals they close, or they'll track just how much revenue they make. I want to track both of these numbers because they're going to get me some other data points we'll talk about in a second. These are the 5 most important KPIs in your customer acquisition cycle, tracking all 5 of these. Now let's break down why and how to use this. So we're going to transition from what they are to how to use them. So let's just say hypothetically we have a Facebook ads, and let's just say we have Google over here, right? Google ads. What we could do here is we can say, here's this. We'll do a little chart here, all right? And then we can draw a line right here and another one down here. And what we want to do is we want to repeat these data points for all your marketing channels. This isn't designed to be used for all of your marketing combined. You want to break this down per marketing channel. If you have 1 marketing channel, cool, you do it once. If you have 5 marketing channels, you do this for 5. So here's what we want to do. Let's just say, as an example, let's just say our cost for Facebook ads is $2,000 a month. And these are just made up numbers here, so don't worry about it. Make sure you input your stuff. Let's say Google ads is spending the same $2,000 per month. Let's just say over here, Facebook ads created 40 leads. Google ads created 20 leads. And so now with just this number, we can get some other data points. We input this, and from this, we can just do some basic division and we can get some other data. For example, we can say that, dividing these two right here gives us a cost per lead. And so the cost per lead for here, 2,000 divided by 20 is going to be $100 a lead, right? Divided by 40 is going to be $50 a lead. Now I only have to track these 5 data points and I can get other data from it. And this is why these 5 are really important. So if I put the marketing dollars here and then I put the number of leads, I now not only have my total spend and my number of leads, but I can auto calculate, like in an Excel form, I can auto calculate my cost per lead. Now when I come over here, let's just say out of this, I got 10 appointments, and let's just say this one gives me 10 as well. Now what's interesting here, in this hypothetical example, I got 2,000 here, 2,000 here, same amount of money in each. They generated different amounts of leads, but they generated the same amount of appointments. And maybe they're off, maybe they're different, maybe they're whatever. This is all hypothetical here. But what this tells me is that, hey, my cost per lead here was $50. My cost per lead here is $100. And if I was just looking at just that, which is what you see in the ad dashboard themselves, just that number, it would tell me that I need to keep going Facebook ads. But now all of a sudden I'm looking at another data point and I can see that, hey, even though like Facebook ads was cheaper, Google ads is actually giving me the same amount of appointments. The cost, I'm getting half the leads, but I'm getting the same amount of appointments, right? So we're getting further down the chain to the actual customer, right? And so a lot of times these numbers, depending on the channel, there'll be ups and downs in each one. Our real thing that we want to pay attention to is the money spent versus the money returned. All these in the middle data points are just checkpoints. So we have money spent, number of leads, number of appointments. Let's say this one is 4 deals closed. And let's just say this one is 5. And again, this is completely made up data. Yours might be a lot different, right? So from all of these data points right now, we can start to see a lot of stuff. So from here, we got cost per lead. If I take this number and this number, I have cost per appointment. So CPA, right? Cost per appointment. And if I have this number and this number, then I have cost per deal. And then the last one, if I take this number and this number, I get ROI. And so let's just say on this one, I created 20K in revenue. And let's just say this one is 25K. Now, again, this is completely made up data. This is not saying that Google ads are better than Facebook ads or vice versa. What we're doing is we're pointing out things that we want to look at. So let's dive into what this data is. So we have the marketing, leads, appointments, deals, and revenue. Again, if you were just looking at your ads platform for Facebook or Google ads, you would look at these spending the same amount of money on both of them and go, wow, this one's performing better. I need to stop spending money here and I need to spend, but all of a sudden you realize that on appointments, they're actually producing the same or similar. And then all of a sudden on deals, this one's making more. And now all of a sudden on total revenue, this one is definitely winning. So having these numbers allows you to see what's truly happening. Now, what you can do with these numbers is if you divide this one and this one way, you're going to get ROI. So in this case, you'll get like a 10x. If you divide it the other way, you'll get it in a percentage form. It would be 90%. So that's 10% of marketing to yield that. So you can just flip the way that you divide them. Now, if you're smart, what you can do is create a Google Sheet or an Excel sheet and auto track this. So you have a row where you're tracking each one of these, and then you just calculate that. Now, ideally, we want to track this information on a consistent basis. So in the link below, I have a link to a contractor scorecard that shows all these data points and gives you weekly tracking of this data. And so all you have to do is just click that link and then copy it to your Google Drive, and you can use this and follow along. All right, guys, so we briefly touched on all these main points. Let's talk about timing, right? So how often do we want to track this? Do we want to track this daily? We want to track it weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly? So for me, I think that weekly is the best for most businesses, and here's why. Depending on your revenue cycle, if you track daily, maybe you only have like a couple leads a day, and that means you might not have an appointment every day. And so you're going to have a lot of days with potential zeros, and that's not really worth the tracking at that point. On the flip side, if you wait for a month and then you realize there's problems in a marketing or sales cycle somewhere in one of these channels, it's not working, well, you might have spent $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 or more dollars waiting to figure that out. And quarterly and yearly are definitely way too long. You need to measure much more quickly than that. So what I do is I create a quarter scorecard, and I track 13 weeks of the quarter, and I track every week in that quarter, and I track all these numbers for my businesses, and I recommend to my clients that they do the same. So that's the frequency that I recommend. Now, in some cases, let's say you are not a 7, but maybe you're an 8-figure business, and you've got a dozen salespeople out in multiple cities. You might need to track more soon than weekly. Maybe you want to track daily. Now, sometimes marketing numbers, they're going to fluctuate a lot, and tracking the marketing itself on a weekly basis might be tough. Maybe in that case, you track your marketing weekly, but you track your sales daily and summit weekly. So there's a lot of options here, but the scorecard that we have down in the link below tracks it weekly because that's the right choice for most businesses. All right, guys, so we've covered a lot, but I still want to talk about something else. So being that this is a KPI, key performance indicator, and we only have 5 numbers, you might be thinking, well, there's more numbers in my business. There's more insight in my business. And I'm going to show you how these 5 numbers can help uncover where problems are in your customer acquisition cycle and how to dive deeper in there. So let's go in and look at that. So the very first thing here, and I cleared out that information from before, let's take a look at these 2 numbers. So the first number is money spent. That's not a problem, it's just your investment, right? This is your initial investment. So the next thing we have is the number of leads. And like I mentioned before, if I was just looking at these 2 numbers, which the ad platforms themselves will tell you. If I'm in Google Ads and I spend $2,000, it'll tell me how many leads I have because I'll have conversion goals set up. So I'll see I spent $2,000 and I got 20. And in Facebook, I spent $2,000 and I got 40. Now, that first thing that you're learning here is whether or not the marketing system is actually generating leads and whether or not it's at a reasonable cost. We're going to talk about in a second how the cost here per lead isn't the only data point, but it is important. If I spend $2,000 and this number is 1, 2, 3, I'm probably something's off. Generally speaking, local leads are going to be anywhere from $25 to very high-end $200, most of the time between $25 and $75. So if I've got very high cost here, maybe something's a little off. So that could be a conversation to have with your marketing team, your marketing agency, your internal team. If you're DIYing it, it means something's wrong. You need to check some things and figure some things out. So if this number is off, which again, you can take this number and you get cost per lead. Dividing these numbers gives you cost per lead. And in this case, it's 100. In this case, it's 50. Now, cost per lead isn't all of it, right? It's not everything. You could have a situation where one system has a higher cost per lead, but it's still generating more revenue at the end. And in this example, I've got that over here. But let's dive into the next KPI point, appointments. So if this point is broken, it tells me my marketing system is broken. My lead generation system is broken if this number is wrong or low. Now, moving on down here, we have appointments. If I've got a situation, like let's get rid of this 0 for a second. I've got a situation where I'm generating 40 leads, but I've only got one appointment. That's a problem, right? But where's the problem? It's not with leads, right? It's with your appointments. It technically might be your leads, but most likely between here and here, you have something called a CRM or a nurture sequence, right? Maybe you're using a tool like Drip Jobs or HubSpot or some sort of CRM with a nurture sequence in it. They become a lead. And after they fill out a form or call, there's an automated systems and process that follow up with them and try to book an appointment. You miss a call or a human makes an error, then this can happen. If I'm analyzing a client's or a potential client's or just anyone in my Facebook group or anything like that, if I'm looking at someone's numbers and they've got a lot of leads flowing in, but they can't get appointments, it means that they're missing phone calls, not returning phone calls, there's no lead nurture system set up, or maybe they just have poor skills when they're on the phone with people, and there's a friction point between that lead and appointment. It also could mean that maybe your leads are really wrong. So maybe you do business in Dallas, Texas, and for some reason your marketing is so off that you're attracting leads from like California. Well, clearly they're not going to book an appointment. It doesn't make sense for them to. If your marketing is significantly wrong, you could have a problem there. But most likely when this number is off, it's your CRM and your follow-up sequence to book that appointment that's wrong. And so that number tells us that our nurture and our appointment generating system here is wrong. So I'll put that back. Moving on to the next KPI, we have deals. So what does this tell us? If I'm booking 10 deals and I'm closing 4, right? Then that's pretty awesome. That's 40%. I've got a 40% close rate. This number tells us our sales skills. How many deals, how many appointments are we going on? How many appointments does it take me to get a closed deal? And this is 40% close rate, and that's pretty good. But imagine this number was like 1. So now I've got a 10% close rate. So what does this tell me? This tells me that you don't know how to close deals. You need to work on your actual presentation skills and your sales skills. Maybe you need to have a presentation instead of emailing the bid at night the day after. Maybe you need to actually learn some persuasion and communication skills so you can actually have better conversations and better sales presentations with your leads. Maybe there's some software tools you can help to do your pricing and stuff. All these things can come into play, but most likely it means you can't sell and you need to work on those skills. Now let's take a look at the last number. Let's say in this example, all of these numbers are good. I got 2,000 here, I got 40 there, I got 10 there. These are all pretty good numbers so far. And I've got four deals. But let's just say I go over here and I got 4 deals, but it's only like 5K. So what does this tell me? It tells me a couple things. Number one, I spent 2,000 to make 5,000. So my cost per marketing is like 40%. It's way, way too high. So I've got a giant ROI problem here. If I spent 40% on marketing, I don't have a lot left over for profit. Let's say your crews run 40%, you have material expenses and expendables and paint and supplies or whatever it is you're doing that are another 10%. It only leaves me 10% for overhead and everything. It's not enough. Generally speaking, your business should be seeking between 25 to 40% profit. So this tells me right away, I'm nowhere close to that. It also tells me something else. I'm spending an appropriate amount here. I'm getting good leads. I'm getting good appointments. My close rate is good, pretty good. But if I divide these two numbers, I get my average cost per job. So going back to sales, maybe you're not selling the right thing. Maybe you're not pricing high enough. Maybe you're the lowest bidder in the pack and you're just dealing with cheap customers. That number can tell you that. It might also tell me that I'm not selling to my potential. I'm either low bidding, I'm not selling enough, or maybe I'm actually going on appointments for smaller jobs that I shouldn't be going on appointments for. Let's say you're a paint contractor and a couple of these appointments, they just wanted a quote to paint their front door. Maybe you need to raise the bar for your entry for your company. And maybe that needs to be $2,000 or more jobs. And when you're doing your qualification in your appointment system, maybe you have some questions, some screening questions as part of that, and you help determine what kind of job it is, and you say no to some of those. I'd rather have this be 2 appointments, close 1 deal that's $5K, right? That would make more sense than to spread 4 jobs around $5K. You'd lose so much money in overhead and communication and job management skills that it just wouldn't be worth it. I'd rather take 1 job at $5K than 4 at $5K all day long, every day, right? So, well, let's go back over here. Let's talk about one last thing here. So we talked about a lot about how these numbers help us determine different things. So basically, this is our input. This is what we invest, right? We decided because of some education or some other people have tried this, or you're following me and I'm telling you try this or that, or whatever it is. You've decided to invest in a marketing channel. And then this is your first return. You're going to get leads. And then your second return is appointments. And then your third is the deals, and your fifth is the revenue. And each one of these numbers tell you something that's broken. Leads tells you if your marketing's broken. Appointment tells you if your phone or CRM follow-up to appointment system is broken. This tells you if your sales system is broken, your presentation and sales skill. And here tells you what you're pricing and how, what kind of products and price points you're delivering for your market, and whether that's appropriate or not for the amount of investment that you're putting in. So all of those numbers tell you the key things. And at any point, if one of these numbers, let's say this number is really low, let's say it's 4, not 40. I'm gonna go, wow, I'm spending $500 a lead. That's a problem. Now what I do, that's a KPI. That number told me there's a problem. Now I go into the marketing system and I dive into those numbers and I try to figure out where. Or if you're hiring an agency, you ask them to do it. Each one of these systems, it doesn't tell you the exact problem. It just tells you where the problem is. And that's what this is about. It's like a baseball scorecard. You're literally looking at each inning, each week, and seeing the score. And if there's a problem, then you got to talk to the team. You got to coach the team and figure out how to get that extra run. You know what I mean? That's what this is about. It's about simplifying your data so that you can track and make good decisions, and you can easily analyze when something is wrong. And then from there, you can dive in with the appropriate team members. Last thought on this is going to be this. Each one of these data points matter, but the biggest one that matters is this one and this one. Because very often I see clients that are like, well, I got this Facebook lead that's, this advertising on Facebook, and it's only like $30 a lead. And I've got this, Google ad or Angie's or whatever. It's not important what it is, but I've got another ad channel that is maybe 3 times as much, right? Maybe instead of $30 a lead, it's $90 a lead. But maybe more appointments are going. Maybe you have more junk. You're getting $30 leads here, but you're not setting as many appointments. You're not getting as many deals, and you're not making as much revenue. So in this number, if you look at this, right, same investment here, half of the amount of leads, a few less appointments, the rate of appointment is actually significantly higher, but the cost per appointment is double or half, depending on which way you're looking at it. My close rate is a little bit better, and my revenue is way better. I got 3 jobs at $25K for this $2K. Again, this is all hypothetical, but this is what you want to look at. I would rather have a channel that's producing a higher ROI and less leads. Less leads means less communication. It's actually easier. I personally would rather spend $100, $200, $300 on a lead if I knew it was going to close, or had a way more likelihood to close, instead of spending $20, $30, $40 on leads that I've got to answer 1,000,001 phone calls, I'm getting solicited to, I've got more follow-up. You know what I mean? So it is about this number divided by this number. That's the point. That's ROI. That's what really matters. Even these points here are relatively arbitrary. I'm not saying they're not important, but they are not the most important thing. This 5 KPIs number 1 and number 5 are absolutely, unequivocally the most important numbers on this sheet. And these ones are just checkpoints to make sure that you're on your way. And they can tell you if your ROI is wrong, it'll show you where to start looking. All right, guys, so I filled this in a little bit more to give a little bit more example of what, this might be like what a month would look like in a 7-figure business. Again, I track this stuff weekly, but I'm just going to fill this out and show you and talk about a couple of things. So one, not only we need to track these numbers, but to get to that 7-figure level, you're most likely going to need more than one channel. You can see in this example, I got Facebook ads and Google ads and SEO. I've got some referrals and I've got mail. And your CRM, if you're using a CRM, it should be able to track and segregate all of this data, and then you can just input it into your scorecard. Now, if we follow this along, we're spending here, 4, 5, 6 referrals are free, so we're spending $6K. And then we're generating about 130 or so K at the end of this. Again, this is all hypothetical, but this is relatively realistic, right? For what you could be looking at in a month. Diversification on all these channels and comparison of different channels against each other is one of the things that's going to help you grow. If you only had Facebook ads running, even if you were spending all of your marketing dollars just in that one thing, what happens if your Facebook ad gets suspended and shut down for a couple weeks? All of your business goes away. If you diversify across a few different channels, you get to one, compare which channels are performing better. But even if, let's just say Google ads is performing better than Facebook ads or vice versa, you should still probably run them both. Because if one of them has a problem and has too much percentage of your business and that part shuts down, then you're going to have a failure point. One of the most common things that I hear from people that come to me are they relied on referrals. And referrals alone. Maybe you started a new business and you're within your first 3 to 5 years, and at first you gave some flyers to some family and friends and coworkers and whatnot, and you got a few jobs and they referred a couple people, and referrals just had 3, 5, 10 leads a week, and you had more work than you know what to do with. And then all of a sudden, it's not friends of friends, it's like friends of friends of friends of friends, and the referrals just stop working. You're not getting them anymore. That's a problem, right? If I only relied on any one of these channels and that one channel dries up, no matter which channel it is, you're not going to hit 7 figures. So it's very important that you diversify. And tracking this and understanding your numbers across each channel and being able to optimize with the marketing teams that are involved in each channel and try to optimize all of those numbers, but still keep as many of them running as possible is great. Now, if any of these numbers, you give it their fair shake, you give it 3, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever, on a specific channel, you give it some time and it still doesn't work, it's just not producing ROI, then maybe you need to kill that channel. And that's okay. But you'll know that by looking at these numbers. And maybe you need to kill SEO because it's not doing anything, or maybe mail's not doing anything, and you can find another channel to replace it with. But in general, tracking each one of these on a weekly basis is what I recommend, monthly basis if you want, and having at least 3 marketing channels, up to 5 or 6 if you want to get to that 7-figure mark, is how you're going to get to that point. All right, guys, so I hope that helped, and I hope this breaks down the numbers that you should be tracking in your customer acquisition cycle, and I hope some of the notes and thoughts that I had today is going to help you understand your marketing and acquisition better, be able to diagnose problems better, and be able to track and know your numbers in your business so that you can get to that 7+ figure mark. Down below, I'm going to have a link to that scorecard. Again, it's a Google sheet. It tracks all of this stuff we talked about today. It looks way prettier than this. Download it, copy it into your own Google Drive folder, customize it, rename it, whatever you need to do. But the great part about it is that you input these 5 numbers and it automatically calculates your cost per lead, cost per appointment, deal, ROI. All of this stuff gets auto-calculated by just you putting in these 5 numbers. So that's free, and the link is down below. And lastly, if you'd like to, there's another link to join me in my Facebook group where we do deep dives and Q&A videos on a weekly basis. We cover stuff like this, but also you get to join in and ask questions and get your specific questions answered. Whole community of contractors and marketers from my team helping you achieve your goals. Hope to see you there. Until the next video, see you around.